For many workers, especially in tech, 2022 was one of the worst years in recent memory. Since 2008, few have seen this level of change hitting a single industry. Between Meta, Salesforce, Google, and Twitter, the world's largest tech firms have collectively cut hundreds of thousands of jobs, ending an era for many so-called surplus elite middle managers and debatedly useful tech roles. This wave of rapid change has left tech workers to question, what's next? Just this week, Amazon laid off another 18,000 workers, constituting the largest layoff in tech history. Salesforce just laid off 10% of its own workforce and is bracing for more. This is a massive change to tech, for more reasons than just one. Apart from cutting the primary source of income from thousands of people, this is fundamentally a paradigm shift in how we treat technology companies, their funding, and their labor force.
Tens of thousands of workers across the country, big companies are letting their people go.
I'm seeing layoffs. I'm seeing the impact that this is especially having on white-collar workers has been tremendous.
And says that his over-optimism about growth had led to overstaffing.
Welcome to the Lightning Rod channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos. Not too long ago, working at one of these technology companies was considered to be a pinnacle of focused human achievement. Getting the privilege to work at Google or Facebook would instantaneously propel you to an elite intellectual bracket. You were hailed as a genius for simply being able to pass the arduous interview process. It was so rare, in fact, that there were even movies being made to perpetuate this idea, such as 2013's The Internship, starring Billy McMahon and Owen Wilson. But since then, things have changed. For a decade, Google grew its employee base exponentially, and by 2021, the company employed well over 100,000 people. Less than half of these employees were actually engineers. The majority included other white-collar jobs, such as product managers, mid-level executives, and HR, but also a massive chunk of blue-collar workers to service Google's many perks. In order to attract top talent away from other companies, Google promised potential hires exorbitant salaries and an all-inclusive resort's worth of luxuries. Massage parlors, meditation rooms, and catering became a standard offering at the company, and other big tech companies took notice. Soon, companies like Facebook, Twitter, and more started offering the same to keep up with Google. Salesforce even bought out a sizable chunk of San Francisco to turn it into a literal playground for its workforce. The tech workforce consequently exploded, and the barriers to entry fell in order to accommodate a new wave of engineers. Rather than continuing to implement complex interview processes, big tech companies started relying on fairly standard and memorizable code questions to vet potential hires. Before, where someone needed vast amounts of experience in Einstein's brain to pass a process, an applicant just needed to practice libraries of coding problems on LeetCode for a few months before applying to big tech, and after passing resume screening, getting a job through this technique was all but guaranteed at least one of these companies. Collectively, the biggest technology companies, often known through colloquialisms like FANG and Big N, overspent massively to acquire new talent. Entry-level engineers could easily make upwards of $200,000 per year, and often could negotiate with multiple offers on the table. Once they arrived at a job, they could just sit back and coast while working on semi-useful code, eating subsidized meals, and even drinking free craft beer at their desk. Working at Google, Uber, or Snapchat no longer provided an armor of prestige, just a stamp that proved a worker was being overpaid. But how is this even possible? While a company like Google certainly generated massive enough revenues to sponsor this behavior, the majority of companies offering such advantages during this decade were making very little, and could even be losing money. The answer to how is simple: low or no interest rates. When companies, banks, and investment funds could borrow money at no cost, it was extremely feasible to pump the technology field full of empty dollars. While losing millions of dollars per year, Twitter could continue using borrowed money to pay for employees to drink specialty drinks, do yoga on the job, and enjoy healthy grub from professional chefs. However, in 2022, the economic reins began to tighten. With a well-founded fear of inflation, the United States Federal Reserve began to tighten interest rates, meaning that it was a lot harder to get the so-called free money. One of the first industries to be impacted was the venture capital industry. Usually, venture capital funds like Sequoia and Greylock could spread their bets on a variety of companies, meaning that funding was fairly easy to acquire. The free flow of cash in the tech economy also meant that tech company valuations were not correlated accurately to actual finances, and were often done at exorbitantly high multiples, if not completely speculatively. For example, Uber is unprofitable, yet it is still valued at more than $50 billion. Without the ability to distribute cash freely, venture capital companies began to tighten budgets, and even started calling some of their startup investments to repay their loans. The picture became clear extremely fast. The so-called golden era was over, and free money was nowhere to be found. This trend quickly cascaded through the entire technology industry, heralding thousands of layoffs towards the end of 2022. This trend will certainly continue into 2023, so working at a big tech job is not a safe bet at all anymore. Furthermore, the days of tech company elitism are likely over, as companies like Twitter are selling their former amenities, such as professional-grade kitchen equipment and Herman Miller chairs, at auction. So the question remains, what happens next? As an economic belt tightens around technology, what is the common tech worker expected to do? The answer might be hard to stomach, but it's actually pretty simple. The tides are changing, and it's time to target more reliable and well-founded industries and companies. Instead of applying to companies with glitzy exteriors and free massages, the best way to get a stable offer in 2023 will be to work for a company that has good fundamentals, such as profitability and resilience. And if this outcome doesn't satisfy you, it might even be time to branch out and start your own business. It is often said that the best and most resilient companies are built out of struggle, and there is no better place to find such motivation than in a recession. Venture capital funds will certainly make finding investors far more difficult, but these firms are still looking for more realistic places to place their funds. Rather than focusing on the crazy tech valuations of the 2010s, these firms will look to companies that offer real products and can provide realistic valuations.